Some killers stalk in the shadows, others haunt your dreams. But Jason Voorhees, he never stops coming. From his tragic origins at Camp Crystal Lake to his rise as a horror icon, Jason has slashed his way through decades of terror. But how did a drowned child become an unstoppable killing machine? Tonight, we dive into the complete history of Jason Voorhees and why he's the king of slashers. In the quiet, idyllic town of Crystal Lake, New Jersey, the summer of 1957 was supposed to be a time of joy and relaxation. But for young Jason Voorhees, it was the beginning of a nightmare. Jason, a disfigured and mentally challenged boy, was often bullied by the other children at Camp Crystal Lake. His mother, Pamela Voorhees, worked as a cook at the camp and did her best to protect him, but she couldn't be everywhere at once. One fateful day, while the counselors were distracted by their own youthful indiscretions, Jason wandered to the lake and drowned. His body was never recovered, and the camp was shut down in disgrace. Years later, in 1979, Camp Crystal Lake reopened, but the dark history of the place lingered like a curse. Pamela Voorhees, driven mad by grief and rage, returned to the camp to exact her revenge. She blamed the counselors for Jason's death and began a bloody rampage, killing anyone who dared to step foot on the campgrounds. Her reign of terror ended when a young counselor named Alice decapitated her, but not before Pamela whispered her final words, "He's still alive." In 1981, Alice returned to Crystal Lake, haunted by nightmares of Pamela and the camp. But her nightmares became reality when she was brutally murdered by a mysterious figure. It was Jason, now a hulking, deformed man, who had survived his drowning and lived in the woods, waiting for the right moment to avenge his mother. Jason's return marked the beginning of his transformation into an unstoppable killing machine. Over the next decade, Jason became a legend. He terrorized Crystal Lake and its surrounding areas, killing anyone who crossed his path. His signature hockey mask, which he adopted after stealing it from a victim, became a symbol of fear. Jason's kills were brutal and creative, from machetes to spears, and his victims ranged from camp counselors to unsuspecting hikers. Each encounter added to his mythos, and his body count grew exponentially. As Jason's killings continued, rumors of a curse began to spread. Some believed that Jason was undead, brought back to life by his mother's vengeful spirit. Others thought that the lake itself was cursed, feeding Jason's rage and giving him supernatural strength. Whatever the truth, one thing was clear: Jason Voorhees was more than just a man, he was a force of nature. In 1984, Jason's reign of terror seemed to come to an end. After a brutal confrontation with a group of teenagers, Jason was finally defeated, or so it seemed. His body was left in a barn, impaled and lifeless, but as the camera panned in on his lifeless form, a sudden movement hinted that Jason might not be gone for good. 2 years later, Jason was resurrected by a lightning strike, proving that not even death could stop him. Now more powerful than ever, Jason returned to Crystal Lake to continue his killing spree. His resurrection marked a turning point in his story. Jason returned to Crystal Lake to continue his killing spree. His resurrection marked a turning point in his story, as he began to exhibit supernatural abilities, including superhuman strength and near invulnerability. In 1989, Jason took his terror to New York City. After being transported to Manhattan via a cruise ship, Jason wreaked havoc on the city, leaving a trail of bodies in his wake. His rampage culminated in a showdown in the sewers, where he was seemingly defeated once again. But as always, Jason's fate remained uncertain. In the 1990s, Jason's story took a darker turn. After being blown to pieces by the FBI, Jason's spirit possessed the bodies of others, continuing his killing spree from beyond the grave. It was revealed that Jason was tied to a demonic curse, and the only way to stop him was to destroy his bloodline. In the far future, Jason was cryogenically frozen and awakened on a spaceship. Even in space, Jason's killing instincts remained intact, and he slaughtered the crew with his usual brutality. This chapter marked a departure from the traditional Crystal Lake setting, but it reinforced Jason's status as an unstoppable force. In 2003, Jason faced off against another horror icon, Freddy Krueger. The two killers battled for supremacy, with Freddy manipulating Jason to do his bidding. The film was a crossover event that delighted horror fans, but it also raised questions about Jason's origins and motivations. In 2009, the Friday the 13th franchise was rebooted, reintroducing Jason to a new generation of fans. The film explored Jason's backstory in greater detail, showing his transformation from a deformed boy to a relentless killer. It also introduced new characters and settings, while staying true to the spirit of the original films. Jason Voorhees has become one of the most iconic figures in horror history. His influence can be seen in countless slasher films, video games, and pop culture references. But his legacy is more than just his body count. It's the fear he instills in audiences, the dread of hearing his name whispered in the dark. As of now, the future of Friday the 13th remains uncertain. Legal battles have stalled the production of new films, but fans continue to hold out hope for Jason's return. Whether in a new movie, a TV series, or another medium, one thing is certain: Jason Voorhees will never truly die. Jason Voorhees' story is one of tragedy, rage, and unrelenting terror. From his humble beginnings as a drowned boy to his evolution into a slasher icon, Jason has left an indelible mark on the horror genre. His journey is far from over, and as long as there are campfires to gather around and stories to tell, Jason will continue to haunt our nightmares. The legend of Jason Voorhees is a testament to the power of fear and the enduring appeal of the slasher genre. Whether he's stalking the woods of Crystal Lake or wreaking havoc in new and unexpected places, Jason will always be a symbol of horror. And as long as there are stories to tell, his legacy will live on. The end, or is it? Thanks for watching. If you loved this video, please give a like and subscribe to the channel, and click the bell icon so you never miss any update from us. Share this story with your friends.